Hi, I'm back. Mark Alexander here to start a whole new series. It's going to be a different series, as you can probably see already. It's partially based on some of my work with the Underground Grammarian. I'm the curator of the website, and I have a Twitter handle. If you look Underground Grammarian, you can check it out. I'll go into the Underground Grammarian and Richard Mitchell, who did that kind of work later on in the series. I just want to start off right now with a quote of his, and then get into evil dictionaries. So the question for this episode is, why does a specific vocabulary matter? In the book Less Than Words Can Say, Mitchell wrote this: language is the medium in which we are conscious. The speechless beasts are aware, but they are not conscious. Now, by the way, I have a little bit of a disagreement with that, but within this context, he's right. To be conscious is to know with something, and a language of some sort is the device with which we know. More precisely, it is the device with which we can know. In other words, consciousness in this world has a whole lot to do with the ability to use language, understand language, and have a vocabulary that connects us to the world in a way that we can talk about it and then understand it. Let me give you an example, a garden. Let's say you're a master gardener and I'm not, okay? I can go into a garden, I can identify, I can tell a rose, I can tell a tulip, I can name some of the things. But names just by themselves is not enough. People who are master gardeners like you, let's say, if you had a vocabulary and you had planted this garden, you would know what time of year to plant them. You would know the life cycle of the various plants. You know what plants to put together, which ones to keep apart. You know diurnals from perennials. There's all kinds of technical language that you have. So when I look at a garden like this, I just see, some pretty things and maybe a few things I can name. But you would see an entirely different garden because of the vocabulary you have. You would have the language to understand and then interpret. You could tell the past, present, and future looking at this garden. I mean, I can tell the present. I can guess that some things were planted in the past and name a few things. But you could look at a garden like this and tell if somebody did it correctly. Is it laid out correctly? Are the right things planted at the right time? Where are they going? Which things will die? What are their life cycles? How will this garden change over time? That specific technical vocabulary allows you to do something different and have a greater understanding. Let me illustrate this for you, and I want to do this, and this gets to the topic of evil dictionaries. Think of the two words continual and continuous. For a lot of people, these two words mean pretty much the same thing, just something that goes on. In fact, if you go online and look up the Merriam-Webster dictionary online, it'll say for continual, continuing indefinitely in time without interruption. Okay, and if you look just a little bit below that definition, choose the right synonym for continual. They also say continuous is a synonym. In fact, they are claiming both words pretty much mean the same thing. Okay, there's another place to look, though. If you go to Free Dictionary, you see something different. Continual, intermittent, often repeated, not to be confused with continuous, uninterrupted in time. So do you see the distinction here? Continual is repeated at intervals, and continuous is nonstop. And they make the same thing here, uninterrupted in time, like the continuous ticking of a clock, and at the bottom, not to be confused with continual. This is a good dictionary, at least when it deals with these two terms, these distinctions, and the definitions of them. It's a good dictionary. Evil dictionaries, like the Merriam-Webster, conflate the two. They do not provide your brain with the understanding that there are two different ways of looking at something that happens over time. Continually, if you said I go to school continuously, well, that's not correct, because that would mean you'd never come home. No, you go continually, repeated at intervals. Vocabulary allows you to distinguish different things and communicate your meaning clearly to somebody else so that there is no confusion. Evil dictionaries over time will give in to popular misuse and not maintain the distinctions. They won't help you with your consciousness. The words continual and continuous provide language in such a way to give you consciousness of those two ideas and the way they can be used in conversation. So good dictionaries preserve relevant distinctions so that you can understand and thus be conscious. Let's go to a couple other words. Think of the words inflation. The word inflation in an economic sense. And some of you, if you've read my book, Money and Wealth, I go into a whole chapter on inflation. So this is just giving you a high-level idea. If you look online, the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, and from Oxford, this pains me. A general rise in the prices of services and goods in a particular country, resulting in a fall in the value of money, the rate at which this happens. So this is defining economic inflation as rising prices, and then rising prices result in a fall in the value of money. Rising prices cause money value to fall. If you look at the Cambridge Dictionary online, you get something similar, a general continuous increase in prices. For this term, these are evil dictionaries because they are essentially lying to you or only providing you the definition that is in current use, and in a way even misleading people in thinking that rising prices can cause the value of money to fall. I'm going to take you through 4 earlier dictionaries and what their definitions are, and notice the difference. It's not that inflation is rising prices. So, 1956, Webster Handy College Dictionary. Inflation, a condition in which the money in circulation is excessive for the commodities on sale or being sold. In other words, it's not about rising prices. It's about the amount of money in circulation. When the money supply inflates, the number of bills, the number of coins, whatever, if the government prints up more money, it can cause prices to rise. Look at this one, 1959, Webster's New World Dictionary. Webster's used to get it right. Number 2, an increase in the currency in circulation or a marked expansion of credit resulting in a fall in currency value and a sharp rise in prices. Now notice, this gets it correct. When the money supply expands or more credit is brought in, allowing people to spend more, that results in a fall in currency value and a sharp rise in prices. So the cause and effect is clear. Money inflation, the amount of notes, the amount of credit, cause currency value to fall and prices to rise, unlike earlier definitions that tried to say the opposite. Prices rise and that causes currency value to fall. Here, 1970, the American Heritage Dictionary. Number 2, an abnormal increase in available currency and credit resulting in a rise in price levels. And then finally, 1974, again, Merriam-Webster. I don't know why they didn't just transfer this one over. Well, actually I do. Number 3, an abnormal increase in the volume of money and credit resulting in a substantial and continuing rise in the general price level. Do you understand the implications of what you've just learned? Look, go back, right? A general rise in the prices of services and goods in a particular country resulting in a fall in the value of money, the rate at which this happens. What's happened is the word used to be defined correctly so that you could clearly be conscious of what causes rising prices in this context. It's when the government prints up more money or provides more credit or says, oh, well, these businesses are too big to fail. Let's print up $1 trillion of debt and give it to banks and financial institutions to preserve them, okay? What happens? Prices start to rise. As a result, the value of currency goes down. So the meaning of economic inflation matters. And what happens is, these days, almost everywhere you go, you're going to find that they are not providing you the proper definition. They are changing your consciousness. They are making it so that prices just rise. There's no cause and effect here. Nothing to see here, folks. Yeah, we have the printing press. We like to print up trillions of dollars and get you in debt. so that we can have our parties, our private jets, we can give money to donors, they can pay us back in donations to their campaigns. It's all a kind of a big circle of stuff. And by keeping you from being conscious of what inflation means, it allows us to spend more, and you're not going to hold us accountable, and you're going to be left with the debt. Isn't that nice? Please become a patron and get free books from me on Patreon. It's patreon.com/grammarian. If you don't have an account there, I also do PayPal. In any event, if you become a Patreon member, the first 50 people get my first 4 books for free: Creating Your Life, Money and Wealth, Sex and Romance, Mozart and Great Music. What I'm doing in this series takes a little bit from Money and Wealth, but it also foreshadows 3 books: Language and Rhetoric, Law and Liberty, and Training and Education. All of this is important. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I strongly suggest you put on your laugh hat, because you're going to just have to laugh or you're going to cry. Take care. We'll see you for episode 2.